Welcome to the College Basketball Net Profit Show, Thursday, February 16th. Ian Cameron and Conor Mack, as we are ready to break down this Thursday college basketball slate. Thursday usually means Big Ten, Pac-12, and mostly mid-major conference action on a Thursday. So that's what we've got tonight. We got a bunch of marquee games, and we will begin in the Big Ten. Probably is one of the biggest games of the night. Purdue, all of a sudden, losing a couple of games here recently. Can they get back on track tonight against Maryland, who historically have a pretty good home court here at College Park? We've got pretty much a pick 'em here in this game. Total sitting at 130, 131 and a half across the board in this game. Maryland, we know, is very good on their home floor, and 13-1, the only loss at UCLA. Purdue, suddenly, all of a sudden, two road games in a row look kind of vulnerable with the loss at Indiana, the loss at Northwestern in their last game. But I don't want to go against Purdue in this spot. I don't want to say I'm rushing to bet Purdue here, but Maryland, I think, is going to have some issues defending Edey. Hell, a lot of teams are going to have issues defending them. But the way I see it here in this matchup against Purdue, they're going to have some issues. I know Maryland played Purdue pretty tough back in January. It was 58-55 win for Maryland in that game. But one thing we have seen from the Boilermakers, we saw it again versus after the Indiana loss. They came right back against a pretty solid Iowa team and blew the doors off the Hawkeyes. And, this team off a loss has been a team that I think you can trust a little bit. Again, this is not going to be an easy game. Home court for Maryland's been strong. But Maryland, again, was playing UCLA at home, and that was I think Purdue's the only team that's as difficult of an opponent for Maryland here at home, and Maryland did not beat UCLA. So normally in these spots, I'm interested in the home dog and the home team, but I actually think Purdue might be the way to go in this one. What do you think, Conor? Purdue, Maryland.
Yeah, Purdue, back-to-back road games here off the loss. They haven't been shooting it, well. It's just, especially on the road, it's like take care of the big guys, let them get what they want. But the shooters haven't been there. Maryland, their last game, shot it well, like 53%. Shot a ton from the free throw line. They are better at home, but I think this game's an under. I just think these teams are too slow here at 133. I'm on the under, and I'm beyond Maryland. I don't know if I'm on it fully, but for me, it's them or pass on the side.
All right, we go along now. Next up, we've got North Texas and Louisiana Tech, Conference USA. North Texas, 3.5-point road favorites. 118 is the total in this one. North Texas, Grant McCaslin, like I say, he's done another great coaching job here. This is an excellent defensive team. They're playing great ball. They've won 6 in a row going into this matchup here against Louisiana Tech. We'll see if they can keep it going. Louisiana Tech, though, played North Texas tough earlier this year. They were 9.5-point dogs, only a 2-point victory for North Texas in that game. We'll see if Louisiana Tech can bounce back in this spot. I don't know if they will. I think North Texas is playing some really good basketball. I like the way they've played away from home, especially the last 2 road games, wins and covers at UAB and Rice. Louisiana Tech's kind of scuffling a little bit. They beat Rice and UTSA, kind of mediocre teams. But every good team to above average team in this conference, they've already lost twice to UAB. They've lost to North Texas already. They had a loss as well to FIU and FAU in back-to-back road games. I think the price is actually cheap enough to bet North Texas here, minus the 3.5. It's an excellent defensive team. Defense travels, as we know, and I think that could end up playing the difference here. By the way, the road team has covered 12 of the last 4. Between these two teams. And when you look at this Louisiana Tech group, they're going to have a hard time probably scoring tonight. North Texas, not a phenomenal offensive team by any stretch, but there's a huge gap defensively between these two teams. And North Texas actually, they struggle inside to score, but on the 3-point shooting for this team is solid. And that's been a defensive liability for Louisiana Tech. They have given up 3-pointers at a pretty below average rate. So I think in this game, North Texas, minus 3.5. I think it'll be competitive for a large part of the game, but North Texas, I think, can grind their way and pull out a 6-7-point win, something along those lines. So North Texas would be the side for me here. What do you think, Conor?
Yeah, this North Texas team's getting back to the team last couple of years. And you mentioned on the road, that's why they were always good. They'd cover these numbers like this. and get it done. And I think it's a little bit short. I wanted some more points here with La Tech. I thought 3.5 was tight. And these teams, La Tech, someone just put it in the chat. Was it Kenny? They can't. La Tech's just struggled to score on this defense. It has not been good. And look at this total. 118 here. Should be a good one. I think North Texas wins. I wanted nothing to do with it.
Houston and SMU. Next up, we've got certainly Houston laying a big number as normally they do. Total 138.5 in this game. I think the over could get there in this game. I mean, it's Houston's laying 15.5 on the road. I will say this about Houston. You're better off taking them on the road than at home. At home, they've really had a tough time covering because they're laying even more points in their home games. But if you actually look at their road record, they won and covered at Temple. They just failed to cover at Wichita State, but they won and covered at UCF. They won and covered at Tulane, at Cincy. I mean, they've been covering numbers on the road. And, this SMU team is just pretty downright awful, although they have been competitive the last two games against Temple and Wichita State, but defense can't stop anybody. They've given up 99, 80, 74, 77, 71, 91 in their last game against Wichita. We were on this show, I believe, no, that was Sunday. We didn't have a show, but I was on that over with SMU and Wichita State, and I've been betting overs repeatedly with SMU and cashing all but once in the last 8 games, 7-1 to the over. I'm going to bet over here. Hope that Houston or SMU can do enough offensively against this Houston defense. Houston will score whatever they want against SMU defensively. There's no question about that. It's a tough game from a side perspective. Don't want to lay it with Houston, but Houston has been covering more point spreads on the road lately than at home. So I'm off a side. I like the over. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm not going to mess with the side. If the Houston team comes to play, they could blow them out, but I don't know. SMU's, playing a little bit better basketball. And you're right, the overs had been money. Even that one I was on, the Temple one, just got over by a few points February 8th. So the over has been money if you look that way. I'm going to stay off, though, in the end. I think that the over could get there. I just don't want to lay this huge number. SMU still just defensively horrible. And like I said, the Houston defense comes to play, could just shut them down. It's just, does it happen? I don't know. We got a shitload of games. I don't want this.
It's just SMU. SMU has covered twice in a row. We do have to keep that in mind. But I don't know if this is the spot here. And if you look at the series history, Houston has dominated here against SMU of late pretty convincingly. Beat them up, including 87-53 earlier this year in a game that ended up having 140 points scored in it. So that's why I think this can get over. It'll be close, but I think we can get to 140 here with the total. All right, Wichita State, Temple. Temple, 4.5-point home favorites, 137 the total here in this game. I mean, Wichita State has certainly improved themselves, at least in terms of scoring and shooting the basketball. It's not nails on a chalkboard anymore watching this team offensively. And boy, has it ever shown in the totals. 10 straight Wichita State games have gone over the total, if you can believe it. And a lot of it is because they're just not in those offensive woes that they were early in the season. And then you put Temple up there, and here's this team all of a sudden crumbling at the defensive end. Remember, Temple early in the season, too, was like Wichita. They couldn't score, but they were solid defensively. They basically become the reverse, both of these teams. Now they're scoring points, and now they can't stop anybody. That's basically what we've seen from both teams. 5 straight overs for Temple. Like I said, Wichita's on this crazy overrun. I like over the total here in this game, sitting at 137, 137.5 across the board. As far as the side goes with Temple and Wichita, Temple's covered 3 in a row, but Wichita did win the last 2. Temple was getting a lot of points. Now they're laying points. I mean, Temple hasn't been a favorite in this series since 2011. Since Wichita State joined this conference, Temple's hasn't been favored. They've been a dog in every game. Now they're favored here, 4.5 against this Wichita team. That's you look at them on the road here. They've been pretty good away from home. SMU won outright, covered at Memphis, won outright at South Florida, beat Tulsa, won and covered. This has been a road warrior type of team here, Wichita State lately. I think the plus points is worth a look on the Shockers, but I really like this total even more. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I circled this one right from the beginning. I took it at 136.5. I just you got to take this over. And they're not great shooting teams, but you mentioned the defense just haven't been there. I was on the tempo over on Sunday versus Memphis. We'll get to them later. And it's just strange to see Wichita score all these points. They just switched around. The pace is just totally different from, even earlier in the year in the last few years. So I'm not going to mess with the side. I kind of lean these points with Wichita. They've been all right on the road, but I already on the over.
And even in this series history, Wichita State and Temple, I mean, 7 straight games have been covered by the underdog, 6-1 ATS for the road team in the last 7 meetings between these two teams. So it all lines up with Wichita. And like I say, I like points.
Yeah, and even when some of these bad games, it still got over this total. We could just get 72, 68 or something. There's been a few of those with these teams. It's over. So just too low here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think these are two really good bets in this game, both the dog and especially the over here in this one. Yeah, Nasty Nate, hit the like button. I agree with that. 18 likes, let's go. 123 live viewers. That combination doesn't jive. 18 likes with 123 live viewers. Let's go. Hit that like button. We appreciate it. All right, next up, we've got Colorado, Arizona State. In the Pac-12, Arizona State 4-point home favorites, 139.5 the total in this game. Arizona State, obviously, it's a team that, for the most part, the last month haven't played great, but they are coming off back-to-back wins against Stanford and Cal. Can they build on it here against Colorado? I mean, this Colorado team just doesn't show me enough away from Boulder. I mean, 0-5 straight up in ATS and Pac-12 road play for this Colorado Buffaloes team. So I get it. I get it why people like Arizona State based on that. I can't do anything but fade Colorado on the road. Arizona State beat Colorado, by the way, in Boulder earlier this year, 60-59 back in December. It's actually a revenge spot for Colorado, but man, they've just been awful away from Boulder, Colorado. So I can't trust them here. I don't want to lay 4 with Arizona State. Pass for me. Connor, any thoughts here? Buffaloes, Sun Devils.
Yeah, I think Arizona State could win it. Even last night when I was looking the 2.5, I think they can get it done. Just Colorado, this team away from home. Just that one game against Stanford, I was mentioned earlier, December or whatever it was. They've lost everything on the road, and they really haven't been too close by 5 or more. I just haven't had a ton of trust in this Arizona State team the last month. They're limping here. They need this win, though. So for me, I'm going to stay off, but it would be Arizona State or nothing.
All right, UCF Memphis in the AAC next up. We've got Memphis 6.5-point home favorites, 150 the total in this game. I mean, the first meeting with these teams was a crazy game. I remember being on the Knights in that game. They were slight home favorites, 107-104 in multiple overtimes against the Tigers in that game. Although that game, with 211 points, that game still went over the total even without overtime. It was a high-scoring affair that night. Probably is a lot of points here tonight. I mean, Memphis, the last 3 games, we've seen 179, 180, and 163 total points in the last 3 games involving this Memphis team. So there's no doubt that this is a situation where Memphis is just struggling defensively, but they can light it up at the offensive end of the court. No question about that. It is a revenge spot for Memphis, but I don't want to lay 7 with this group. I mean, they're too erratic for my liking. They were 12-point favorites at Tulsa. They didn't cover. 7-point home favorites the last time they were at home against Tulane. They lost outright in overtime. Temple in their last game as home favorites. They failed to cover by the hook. 9.5-point favorites. They won by 9. They haven't been great covering numbers on their home floor lately. Wichita, before that, they didn't cover. So I lean at UCF. I don't know if I'll bet it, but I'd take the points before I lay them. I do like the over. I do think we'll see points. What do you think here, Connor?
Yeah, I'd lean over. I mean, the line I think is about right, as long as you can still get into 149 here. I can't trust Memphis. It seems like you should take them here. I just can't do it. They're still against the number 1-7 the last 8.
Yeah.
UCF, the bad swoon, whatever, they lost 5 in a row, 4 or 5, dealing with injuries. Both these teams are a little bit, they struggled. And their defense is just kind of slid. That's why they played to the over, UCF. And that first game was just crazy that you mentioned about that 100 game, 100, 107, 104, whatever it was. So I think Memphis wins. I just don't know if you want to lay the 6.5 here.
All right. Next up, we continue along here. It is Santa Clara, BYU. We go to the West Coast Conference here. BYU 5-point home favorites. The total sitting at 149.5 in this matchup. It's definitely for BYU been a inconsistent season for the Cougars, 16-12. You look at them in West Coast Conference play. It's win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 3, win 2, lose 2. I mean, just a very, very inconsistent basketball team. They beat Pacific and Loyola Marymount at home, won and covered, but they've lost to pretty much everyone in the upper half of the conference, essentially. Gonzaga, they've lost twice to the Bulldogs. They've already lost twice, I believe, to St. Mary's already, although the last game at home was a heartbreaker. They lost by 1 to St. Mary's. And then, of course, their last 2 road games at Pepperdine, they lose as 8-point favorites, 92-80. And then Gonzaga, 88-81. Scored a lot of points, but could not stop the Bulldogs and lose 88-81 in that game. I'm not laying points with BYU. There's just that's not going to happen. The question is, can you take Santa Clara? It is a revenge spot for BYU. They lost at Santa Clara 83-76 last month, but again, not playing with that kind of defensive mentality I like. If you actually look at the last 2 times that Santa Clara's made the trip here to Provo, to the Marriott Center here, 6-point win and a 10-point win. So Santa Clara covered the number in both games. But here's the issue. Santa Clara was getting double digits. Here they're only getting 5. Value is not what I wanted or was hoping for, but I'd take Santa Clara before BYU at this point. This one may get over the total. I lean that way. But right now, when you look at BYU, they certainly are a team that's trending over. Santa Clara, though, lately, you look at them, defense has improved a bit. Their totals are always sky high, and some of them have stayed under. But keep in mind, a couple of those totals were in the real high 150s. This one's down around, 149.5. So, I think it's a doable number to get over the number. What do you think, Conor?
I think so too on the total. I've been looking at it a lot. In that last game, they stayed under against Loyola, that close one. It's just the spot here. I thought this a couple weeks ago. They're off the few losses, 3 losses in a row, and they beat down Loyola. And then now, 2 road losses for BYU. It's just you want to lay the 5 now with BYU. I think them at home is the play. And I'm big Santa Clara. I've been on them a ton this year. Could they keep it close? Yeah, but I think this is definitely a BYU spot here.
All right, UAB and UTEP in Conference USA. UAB, 6-point road favorites, 140.5 the total in this one. Definitely UAB has looked a lot more coherent, cohesive, whatever you want to call it, with Jelly Walker and, of course, his return in recent games for them. UAB, they've trended over on the road in their last few games. UTEP, on the other hand, coming off a 77-66 win at UTSA. I think here's an interesting thing to note about this UTEP team is that when they play a team that's willing to push some pace, they'll go over the total with you. The Rice game, the Florida International game, Middle Tennessee, Western Kentucky's not super fast, but they play a little above average tempo. They will get out and run in transition. That went over. UTSA, the last game, went over. It was the Snails, Charlotte, North Texas. When UTEP played those teams, that's when the game stayed under. We know UAB is a team that wants to push the tempo, that wants to get out in transition, use that athleticism, get their offense before the defense sets up. And with Walker back, we're starting to see them play some of those higher scoring games and score more points themselves. So I like over 140.5 here with this UAB UTEP game. It went over the total in the first meeting between them on December the 29th. It's gone over in 3 of the last 4. UAB's really dominated UTEP too. They have covered 5 of the last 7 meetings between these two teams, and UAB is a perfect 8-0 straight up head-to-head over UTEP. So it's I wouldn't want to go against UAB here. Don't love laying 6 on the road, but I prefer the road favorite. But I like the total, and that's where the bet is going to be for me. What do you think, Conor?
Yeah, I don't think but I think you lay it here. Yeah, and UTEP's been pretty good to me. It depends because they can struggle to score. I had them a few games ago. I don't know the Charlotte game. I have to go back and look, but they were 1-9 from 3. The whole game. 9. This team could struggle to score, but UAB up and down, not with a great defense. It'd be UAB or nothing for me in this one.
All right, we go on to Ohio State and Iowa in the Big Ten. Iowa 7.5 point home favorites, 153 the total in this game. My first thought was when I started looking at this game intensely and looking at the numbers and the matchups and how both teams are, current form, offense, defense, all that. My first thought was, man, I'm thinking I might lay the points with Iowa, and that tells you how bad Ohio State is right now. That I'm actually considering laying the points with Iowa in this game, because I rarely back this Iowa team, but that is how bad things have gone for the Ohio State Buckeyes. They are just incapable right now. 1-9 straight up their last 10. They're 0-6 straight up in ATS their last 6 games. The offense has completely fallen off a cliff. There's no way I could make any case to put a single penny on Ohio State tonight in this game at all. You either lay the points or you stay away. I'm on the fence, but I'll tell you right now, it's Iowa or nothing for me. Iowa or nothing, indeed. There's no way I'm touching Ohio State. Awful, awful team right now. What do you think here, Connor?
They've looked bad. It's to me.
I think Chris Holtman's in trouble. I really do.
I think he is too.
Yep.
I mean, the performance
they
that
should be
last
better
game
than this. With Sensabaugh, with Key, with some of those players they've got, they should be better than this.
They better hope they can score. I mean, Iowa not the best defense, so maybe 41 points this last one. To me though, it's Iowa. I think you lay it here. But it could be close. Ohio State, some of these losses on the road have been like 8, 6, 9, but you might have to. It might be close, and maybe it's not. But to me, it's just Iowa or nothing. I can't look Ohio State's way.
I mean, just look at the results. They failed to cover in 6. I mean, they haven't won once in 10. It's just been absolutely awful. So it's hard to make a case for the Buckeyes right now. Next up, St. Mary's and San Diego. Back to the West Coast Conference here. Double-digit road chalk. The Gales, 137 the total in this game. San Diego, Steve Lavin, obviously, his first year there as the head coach. He was in television for quite a few years, now back behind the bench of this Toreros team. They're definitely a rebuilding bunch. There's no question. And sometimes with these teams that are rebuilding, they just run out of gas late in the season. They might be starting to show signs of hitting a wall. They've 1-4 straight up in their last 5 games. That does concern me here going into this matchup. St. Mary's off the loss at Loyola Marymount. Should have known it would be a good bounce back spot for them, and they laid the beat down on Portland 81-64 in that one. We'll see if they can keep it going. The bottom line is when they play some of these weaker teams in the conference, especially on the road, they've been doing some damage. I mean, at San Francisco, they won by 17, and that's actually a decent team. And then when they played at Pepperdine, they smoked the Waves 73-44 in that game. We saw what they did at Portland in their last game. It's another bottom half of the league, bottom half of the conference team, San Diego. So probably would have to look at St. Mary's or nothing here, but you are laying a lot of points, 13.5. A few too many for my liking, but definitely not going to lay this many with St. Mary's. San Diego, though, I am worried about them. The injuries are mounting. It is concerning. It's not a team with a lot of depth anyway, and they're starting to show signs of it right now. What do you think here in this one, Connor? St. Mary's, San Diego?
Yeah, I just can't look at a way to back San Diego. I can't. Not here. Now, to me, I think you lay it. St. Mary's had some good numbers on the road. You talked about the very sharp, good defensively, but they should score about 85 here, St. Mary's. But will San Diego do anything? Because, I'd lean over. I wish this total was a little bit lower. San Diego's defense has just been horrible, and their totals are always in the high 150s lately. So I'd lean that way.
Right, next up, Utah, Arizona. Arizona laying a big number here at home, 146.5 the total. I think this is a smackdown spot for the Wildcats. I've never seen Tommy Lloyd as angry as he was over that team's performance or lack of compete, lack of effort, lack of defense. He said all of it about his team's performance at Stanford in their last game. And if you watch them, it's like they were there in body. They were not there in mind, heart, or spirit against Stanford, because that looked like a Arizona team that just completely said, hey, we're mailing it in today. And that's exactly what happened against Stanford. 33 of 54 shooting allowed to the Cardinal in that game. I would not want to be Utah tonight here in this game. And we know with this Utah Utes team, they play good teams on the road. They get whipped. At UCLA, they lost by 19. At USC, they lost by 15. At Oregon, they lost by 12. Those are three of the best teams in the conference right now. And Arizona's coming here, I think, with a purpose. And also, revenge spot. Utah put the boots to Arizona at Huntsman Center in Salt Lake City earlier this season. It was one of the first losses of the season for Arizona when they played at Utah. So all of that, I think, means Arizona is focused, is ready, and I think they show it here tonight against this Utah team. So we're going to go with a rare first half full game split here. Arizona first half -6 and Arizona full game -11. Connor, what do you think?
I think they get it done just because away from Salt Lake, they're just not very good. They got to try to do something as their defense. That's kind of been their one good thing with Utah, but they haven't been great offensively. Can they hang around here against Arizona? I don't know. And you mentioned they got their ass whipped. That was a long time ago, December now. To me, this spot here is Arizona. It's just, you want to lay it.
I agree. I think it's an Arizona spot. I believe in this basketball team, but they got to stop having those games where they don't even show up. They just think they can step on the court and win. That was definitely one of those games that they played against Stanford, and I think they obviously show defense, a whole lot better tonight.
It can be good, but it's just at times it's not there, but they are better at home here.
Yep.
So.
All right, we'll see if they bounce back tonight. All right, we've got a few games left for marquee games. Cal and USC next up. We've got USC 16.5 point home favorites. 130 is the total in this game. USC, obviously, we know they're the better team. That's why they're favored by 15.5. They are off 2 back-to-back road losses, though, to Oregon State and Oregon, looking to bounce back. So maybe they put a woodshed beat down on Cal here, but you look at Cal, and they've covered on the road as dogs in a few of these games. Just feels like it's a boatload of points here with USC. And keep in mind, USC's last, 3 home wins were 13-point win, 10-point win, 6-point win, against UCLA and the 2 Washington schools. This is a lot of points right now. A lot of points to be laying with USC. Too many, in my opinion. I'd take Cal, honestly. I'd take Cal plus 16.5. I don't know if USC is – I know they're going to be back looking for redemption after 2 losses in a row, but this team can still go into droughts at the offensive end. And if you're going to cover as 16-point favorites, you got to be able to be efficient. And sometimes that's not always the case with the Trojans. I don't love either side, but I'd make a case for Cal before I take USC here. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, this is ugly. This seems like how they've been with Cal. Like, do they lose by 12 here, 13, or is it 25? Or 30, because that's how they've been blown out. So I think you're taking a little bit of a risk. So I want zilch to do with it.
All right, we've got Gonzaga and Loyola Marymount next up here. Of course, Gonzaga currently 8-point favorites in this game, and the total right now sitting at around, it's a high number, obviously, in this game, but 154.5 across the board. So this has a whole lot of layers to it. The first one being Loyola Marymount did something that few teams rarely do, go to Gonzaga and beat Gonzaga. That happened earlier this year. It was a stunner earlier this season. I'm sure Gonzaga's got this rematch circled, looking to earn some redemption following that loss. But we're still talking about a Gonzaga team that's been iffy covering these numbers, especially away from home. We're talking about a Loyola Marymount team. We just saw them knock off St. Mary's on their home court. I don't think this is let's bet Gonzaga because of the revenge angle and only that. You got to have more to your argument than that. And I don't have enough to build on that to make a case for Gonzaga. Sure, they want to beat Loyola Marymount for beating them at the Kennel earlier this year. But, this is still a team that I don't like that defense enough, away from home with what we've seen from them. And I watched a lot of that St. Mary's Loyola Marymount game, and I tweeted a little video clip as it was into that game. It was a great game. That little gym got riled up and fired and loud. For as little a gym as it is, that Loyola Marymount home court, they got into that game against St. Mary's, and it really fueled them to come back and win that game in overtime. It's not going to be an easy game necessarily for Gonzaga. We still see them, against the better. Look what they've done against the better teams in this conference for the most part. Against Loyola Marymount, they had the loss at home as 16.5-point favorites. They lost to St. Mary's on the road, 78-70 in overtime. BYU at home in their last game, they won by 7 but didn't cover. They're not just blowing out the better teams in this conference, Gonzaga. So I get it, they're in revenge, but I don't really want to lay this many points with them, period. Away from home against Loyola Marymount. So I don't know if I'll be on the home dog, but I'm kind of leaning that way. What do you think here, Conor? Gonzaga, Loyola Marymount?
Yeah, 1-7 ATS, the last 7 or 8 on the road. Of course, the last 3 or 4 at home, they took care of business. Get into the 90s has Gonzaga. So other than Portland, which they just covered, they won 82-67. They haven't got it done on the road. They won by 9 at Pacific. At BYU, scared, barely won by 1. Santa Clara by 5. I mean, obviously it's revenge. I can't lay 10, and I saw 9 or 2 DraftKings. I just, maybe they beat him down here, Gonzaga. But to me, Loyola's a better team, has a better defense. So, and they're not going to be up for this. Are they just going to say, "Oh, we beat them, there. Let's just sit back"? I don't know. To me, I take the points or nothing.
All right, Oregon State. Yeah, definitely. I agree. It's home dog for me if I were to bet it. Oregon State, Washington State. Washington State, 13-point home favorites, 123 the total. It's dog or pass here. And look, it's not like we're in a rush to bet Oregon State right now either, but they did beat USC in their last game, 61-58. They were struggling before that. I just don't want to. How can you lay 13 with Washington State? How many times have they covered a number of this magnitude, especially a team that's won just twice in the last 7 games coming into tonight? So I would take Oregon State now at the number we see, but I'm not going to be going near this game. What do you think, Conor?
Me too. It is a ton here. Washington State, the better team. 2 teams, this game could stay under. Their teams are really good to the under, and that's why we only got a 122 and at 123. But Oregon State might not crack 50, 55. Washington State super slow, and they win this. But I'll be off.
All right, we have Stanford and UCLA. Final game here of the marquee games on our show today. We've got UCLA 14-point home favorites, 131 is the total in this game. There's definitely been some post-New Year, when the calendar turned to 2023, we've seen some life out of Stanford here. 5-2 straight up in their last, or 6-2 straight up in their last 8 games. And even the loss against Arizona State was a 4. They had one really bad clunker at Colorado. They got bombed 84-62 after they upset Utah. But that Utah-Colorado back-to-back road trip, we always say that it's tough. And I think they hit a wall against Colorado. But other than that, this is not a team I'm rushing to lay 14 against right now, even with UCLA, who's obviously one of the top teams, the top team in the Pac-12 right now. Look, UCLA is playing some good ball. They're coming off a sweep of the Oregon teams on that Oregon road trip, beating the Beavers and the Ducks. But do you want to lay 14 with them in this spot? They've got Cal coming up after this. That remains to be seen. You look at Stanford. UCLA has dominated this team, would be the one concern. They've won 3 straight, covered 3 straight. But one of those was a 9-point game in favor of UCLA. So it wouldn't have been enough to cover this number. I like the momentum of this Stanford team. I think this is a clear case of overvalued versus undervalued, which means I could only look at Stanford plus the points here. But I'm not in a rush to, if you know what I mean. I mean, there are some matchup advantages for UCLA, but Stanford is playing their best ball of the year. And other than that tough spot at Colorado, they've gone, 7 or 8 games now where they haven't come close to losing by this kind of margin. So I definitely think in the number there's value on Stanford. So I may bet it small, but I'm on the road dog or nothing here. What do you think, Conor?
I think so too. One thing, Stanford, they've been a lot better shooting it, and they shot it really well at Utah, then came back and laid the egg at Colorado. What are we going to get here against UCLA? 2 slow teams. UCLA efficient on offense, very good defensively. I'm off, though. I want nothing.
All right, there we go. That's the marquee games. Hit the like button. 187 live viewers. We appreciate it very much on the Thursday edition of the Net Profit Show. Remember, we got Dabby Cab stepping in for me tomorrow on the Friday show, as always, with Conor Mack ready to break it down. And then I'll be back with the both of them on Saturday morning for the Pub Hub. So we'll have you covered for tomorrow and Saturday with the college basketball slate. Conor, let's turn to you. Games we have not talked about on this Thursday slate. What are you looking at?
I got a 5 here. Not only I think this game gets over, the Middle Tennessee game, but I'm going to roll with them. They're better at home, and FAU's been really, really good. And we'll see. But I like Middle Tennessee +5 and that over 144.5. What else was I looking at? So one of our guys in the chat says Northeastern. I got to stick with Monmouth. Obviously the number's not there, still at 5. Northeastern has nothing but lost 9 in a row. Go ahead. If they can win by 7 to 10, good for them. The Radford game I wanted to look at down here. Oh, and Liberty. At 4 last night, I thought that game, Liberty's the better team, but on the road, they haven't been great. I think it's 6.5. Kennesaw can hang around in that one. And I like Asheville. The more I keep Radford, I've been all over. One of my favorite teams this year. Been great against the number, but they play some really close games, and I think Asheville just has the better team and can keep that game close at getting 4.5.
All right, there we go. Some good looks there from C-Mac as far as this Thursday card goes. For me, let's roll it down quickly. I'm just going to say rather than the I'm just going to say which ones I like the overs because there's always a lot of overs on my card. Georgia Southern Marshall, Old Dominion James Madison, Florida Atlantic Middle Tennessee. You mentioned that game over the total. I like it as well. Green Bay Robert Morris, Georgia State Coastal Carolina, Milwaukee Youngstown, Hampton Hofstra. Let me see what else here. UTSA Rice, North Dakota Oral Roberts, Eastern Illinois Southeast Missouri State, Southern Indiana Little Rock, Lindenwood Tennessee Tech, Northern Arizona Eastern Washington. Let me see what Edwardsville UT Martin, San Francisco Pacific, Queens Jacksonville State, Central Arkansas Eastern Kentucky, A&M Corpus Christi Nicholls State, North Florida Lipscomb. Those are all the overs that I like on this card today. So there you go. Got those all out of the way right now for this one. And then as far as the sides go on the slate, I like Green Bay a little bit, +14 against Robert Morris. A little bit more competitiveness, and I don't trust Robert Morris, Bobby Moe as double-digit favorites in that game. I think Green Bay can stay inside a big number. I like Georgia State on the road against Coastal Carolina. I like Western Kentucky plus the points in their game. What else? Wilmington, I think they get it done on the road. I'm back on Monmouth. Monmouth's been my just my cash cow lately, getting points against Northeastern. We're going back to the well again with the Monmouth Hawks there in that game. Eastern Illinois +8.5. Troy -5.5 against Troy against Troy. I'm trying to think now who they're, but yeah, I like the play in the points there with against Arkansas State. I think they just have a really good defensive team, be able to really get the job done with their defense. I think the Arkansas State's going to have trouble there scoring the basketball in that game. What else have we got? I might move on Iowa. I mentioned that. I might just do that. And even though I don't like Iowa too much, but it's just more of a fade against Ohio State and North Florida +7.5 against Lipscomb as well. I think that's a few too many points being given there to the Osprey of North Florida in that game. All right, let's answer some questions quickly. Liberty, yeah, Liberty's taking money. Hopefully you got in on it early in that game, but definitely over. That's a classic clash of styles. Liberty wants the under. Kennesaw State wants to get the tempo going. So it's a classic situation where if you like Liberty, you like the under. If you like Kennesaw State, you probably like the over in that game.
Yeah, but Beno, people saw that, which earlier Jimmy's show. Yeah, Liberty beat them 10 in a row.
Yeah.
I think that's why they thought they're a little bit better team. That line has moved, but how much? Oh, see, that good defense, Liberty definitely is good.
So I don't think there's value on Youngstown now, and I've said that for a while, but I don't know if I like Milwaukee enough. I lean Milwaukee, but I didn't touch that game. I like the over in that game. That's about it. Southern Indiana, I'm on the total only in that game. Same with Eastern Washington. I'm just on the over in those two games. Yeah, Stonehill and Long Island might go over the total, and I don't want to lay that many with Stonehill, but I don't want Long Island. But I like Stonehill. I like the way Stonehill's been playing lately. So Merrimack, Daryl Turner, nothing on the side. I would lean under with their game. Towson, says Robert Franklin, in their game tonight against Delaware. Towson's kind of been overvalued lately. And I remember taking them their last game and they fell short. I'm not ready to lay that many, but I agree. I lean Towson anyway. But I've been bitten by that game a couple times, laying some points. So I'm off that game. But I wish you luck if you're on Towson in that game. Stony Brook against William and Mary. I think it's a spot for Stony Brook to cover and win and cover. I mean, William and Mary's hit the shits big time, but do I want to lay 4? No. So there you go. It's an easy pass here in this game. There we go. So that's about it, really, as far as the game. Elon, yes,
Elon?
I've cashed with Elon a bunch. This is a lot of points. I mean, Charleston can really, really, when they get their offense going, just rip through an opposing team. But the more that line creeps up, I don't like Elon as much here, but boy, they've been really good. So I would Elon or pass, but I passed on that one.
Yeah, me too.
Pacific. Yeah, I mean, when you look at Pacific, yeah, but Elon's been great. Pacific against San Francisco. I felt short on San Francisco initially, but I don't want to lay 5 now in that game, so I'm off it. And I think there's one more here before we wrap up here. Let me just see here. We've got Louisiana Tech. Yeah, Daryl Turner. I think Conor likes Louisiana Tech. No, that's North Texas. He likes Middle Tennessee against Florida Atlantic. See, I kind of like the Owls there. It's so short that Florida Atlantic, I think, might be able to get it done there, 4.5. But like I said, we do agree with the over, both of us.
That game, I could see either way. Middle Tennessee's been so better at home, and they did get beat down 85-67 that first game.
I wouldn't call 21 because I tabulated how I did yesterday, Barry. I wouldn't call 21-20 terrible. Is it great? No, obviously not. But it's 500. But it's not terrible. I do want to do better than that, though. Definitely. And hey, I have 20 plus 20 units on the season in CBB. So hey, we're gonna have some mediocre days. We're gonna have some bad days. It is what it is. Yeah, I like Jacksonville. I do. That's a good one, Parlay Jay. In fact, I forgot to mention that I do like Jacksonville there, the Dolphins, a little bit as a short favorite against Austin Peay. I think they can get the job done there in that game. So good stuff indeed. Anything else, Conor? Anything that we haven't talked about you want to throw out there?
No, that obviously Jacksonville, but it's 125. I'd look under with them, and I couldn't get the Commerce. New Orleans wants to go fast. Commerce slow it down. I stayed off that, and Northwestern State, who's been very, very good. But Louisiana, I could hang around there. I had to be off that game too.
Yeah.
I didn't want to lay 6.
Yeah, definitely. It has been a rough week for me with the best bets on this show. That I will say. So we got to try to find a way to turn it around. Hey, we were going to hit a rough patch at some point with the best bets, and we've hit one this week. But hopefully tonight we got a cure for that. And I already know which one I'm going to be on, but we'll get to that in a second. Hit the like button on the way out. We'll get to best bets right after we hear from Manscaped and Southtown 101. Southtown 101, when you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke, Southtown 101, and manscaped.com. Get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com with promo code PUBSPORTS. All right, best bets for this Thursday card. Reminder, it'll be Cabby in here with Conor tomorrow on the show at 5 p.m. Eastern. And I actually am going to make an appearance since he reached out and asked. Razor Sharp, he's doing his Friday night live bet stream tomorrow night, and it's centered around an NHL game because, you only have a few, mid-major college games, and you have NHL. There's no NBA tomorrow night, really, other than the Snorfest All-Star weekends that you've been watching the last several years. So I'll be on with Razor Sharp for a little bit during his live bet stream tomorrow night. So tune in for that. All right, it is time for best bets here to wrap it up. Conor Mack, what do you like for best bet?
Yeah, I'm on this one. I'm already on the Purdue Maryland under 132.5, but give me this over, Babano. You like it? Wichita State,
Yep.
Temple over 136.5. It's 137 now. It still gets over, I think. We cash.
There we go. Wichita State Temple over the total. That's also my best bet. It's going to be. It's clearly to me my favorite look on this entire board, side or total, and we need a win to turn the skid around here. So we're not.
Damn, I didn't know you were going there.
No, that's all right. We're going to go with that. Wichita State Temple over 137 here at Heritage. It's what can you say? I mean, Temple's going over, Wichita's gone over in 10 straight, and they just haven't adjusted this properly to the way these teams are playing right now. So by far, it's the best look for me. So it's best bet worthy. Wichita State Temple over 137 for my best bet. All right, that's a wrap. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. And a reminder, Dabby Cab joins Conor Mack tomorrow for the Net Profit Show at 5 p.m. Eastern. So tune in for that. And a reminder, there's no more NBA Pub Hub until next Thursday. Okay, because of the All-Star break. So NBA Pub Hub will be back next Thursday, February the 23rd, following the All-Star break. For Conor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Thursday night. Enjoy the games and good luck, and we will talk to you tomorrow on Friday. Cabby and Conor will talk to you tomorrow. I'll be back with them on Saturday morning for the Pub Hub right here on Pub Sports Radio.
Palooza 2 on the horizon. We're going to have live shows popping off in the Southtown 101. We're going to have a poker tournament, a par 3 golf tournament, UFC San Antonio on the Saturday night. A lot of excitement. Palooza 2!